So next up is State Representative Joe Hohenstein. I hope I pronounced that correctly. He was elected in 2018 to represent Philadelphia's 177th legislative district. A community advocate. You could hear all the good words by standing here. That's fine. Yes. A community advocate, attorney, and educator. Representative Hohenstein has dedicated his career to fighting for justice, from immigration rights to equitable school funding. He has been instrumental in advancing policies that foster empathy-driven innovation, and his experience spans both the legal field and non-profit sector, including the development of an immigration law clinic at Temple University. So please, Joe. Thank you. Thank you. Come to the stage.
There we go. All right. Thank you. Is this up? Good. Okay. I've got to say, I've only been here for the afternoon, but I am extremely impressed. My name is Joe Hohenstein. I'm the state representative here in Philadelphia for what folks would call the Riverwarts. That includes the neighborhood where I grew up, Frankfurt, and then a whole bunch of other neighborhoods, Tacony, Wissinoming, Bridesburg, Port Richmond, Fishtown, and Kensington. And I came into the legislature with a long history in immigration advocacy because I felt that was a voice, a voiceless community that needed someone to advocate for it. And when I came into the legislature, I recognized another such community that I actually had been a part of for pretty much my entire life, and that's the disability community. And I won't gross too many people out, but here's an example of technology. Hearing aids. I've been wearing them since I had to wear them on my chest as a 6-year-old. And many folks in our aging community, my parents included, 89 and 87 years old, they are just beginning to recognize the need for these types of things that we're talking about, these types of products, these types of ways to stay connected and not be isolated, which is really the problem of aging. It's a problem of the disability community as well. And so when I came to the legislature and recognized that the disability community was one of those places that people didn't have a voice, I went out and I started listening. And I started hearing phrases like, piss on pity. Nothing about us without us. And if you've been listening to the last few panels, and Gina, your tremendous presentation on the economic power of the disability community, I think you've begun to recognize that that is what folks need to be looking towards, is the communities themselves that are out there being the consumers, being the end users of the products that you all are looking to develop and innovate with. And I will tell you this as a state legislator who's looking at things that we need to do. And we need to take the ADA and create an ADA 2.0. Actually, we ought to be at ADA 3.0 or 4.0, but we're not. We need to create a space where accessibility is truly about opportunity and not merely about compliance with a law. We need to be looking at creating a medical insurance system that recognizes these new approaches as they come up, to be able to provide for the compensation towards not just the companies creating the product, but the end users. Remember, you are producing products for a community that is pretty much poor. You all know the connections between poverty and health. And you have to recognize that. So again, when you're listening to your communities, don't just be listening to your older folks. Don't just be listening to your disability folks, but also recognize that they're coming at it from an economic standpoint as well. I can tell you, most of the disability community in my district, most of those 1 in 4 folks, oh yeah, they're living in poverty. And I know them because we serve them every day in my office. But those are the things that we need to be focused on when we talk about the community. What do we need to do for you all as investors, as innovators yourselves, the people looking at creating the products or having the facilities that are welcoming and inclusive? We need a technology-first agenda, and there is such a legislative movement that is already afoot. There's a few different states, Kansas in particular, has been looking at some very specific pieces of legislation that focus on that. And I myself am going to be looking at that. I'm already working together with folks from the Temple Institute on Disability, and I would welcome anyone who has any experience with that movement or who is interested in it. Come on up, we'll talk, because this is something that I know that for me as a legislator, me as someone who seeks to give voice to the voiceless or to be able to serve our communities that don't get those services, that's something that I know I need to be doing. And it's something I'm interested in. And again, when we talk about champions, I know I have to stand in that place as someone who's gotten to a position of relative authority to be able to use that position in as a bully pulpit to be able to say the truths that I've been hearing throughout this whole afternoon about how to better serve and work with our aging and disability communities in particular, but frankly, how that better serves all of us. Because it's not really so much about how do we care for people, but how do we give people the opportunity for their fullest, best life from birth to grave. And that's really where we have to be focused on. So thank you very much for having me here.